Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead, where today I'm finally going to show you our kitchen greens garden. The kitchen garden that I am attempting to grow greens in case at times of emergency we want to be able to have those different foods available completely in the house without being outside, without being in the greenhouse. It is in a constant state of experimentation, but it is up and going enough that you'll be able to get an idea of where we are going. Am I completely satisfied with it? No. Will I ever be? I don't know. It just kind of depends, but we'll talk about some things. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to move over. We have a bay window that we have sort of battled the entire 12 years we've been in this house. The bay window was never large enough that we could put a table there for a breakfast nook or anything like that. So when we remodeled our kitchen, which we are still in the process of, and by the way, if you see little pieces of blue tape around, that is our punch list of things that our contractor still needs to address. We're by no means done with the detail work. But we decided that that is wasted space because we had a small little glass top table there for a while, and you may have seen it in previous videos, but we never really used it for anything. It's now out on our front porch as a little breakfast table that we hope to use as the weather warms up. And we found that space to be enough that we could put a storage cabinet below, and I'm going to feature that in a different video. And then we had a countertop put on the top of it. It is south facing, and that it makes it an ideal place to grow some plants. So we're going to go over there. I'm going to show you what we have so far. So I will meet you over at our indoor kitchen garden. So Jim is just going to pan across this little countertop so you can get an idea of everything that we have, and then we'll come back and talk about individual things. You'll notice that I really love flowers, and so I have some flowers. And my daughter brought me the Easter lilies when we had our Easter brunch last weekend. So let's start over here. I want you to know this is the first time in my life that I have ever got carrots to sprout. And look at them, they're doing great. They're in a wastebasket, and I've got to thin these, otherwise they won't do anything at all. So that's one thing I'm hoping to have in the house is carrots. Then over here along the back row, I have my herb garden in progress. This is dill, these two are oregano, these two are parsley, and then I still have empties over here. This next row is our greens, and it is trial and error. I'm trying to see what will grow and what will not grow. This is spinach. It's quite spindly. Now again, I'm trying to do this without grow lights right here, just with the sun that comes in from the southern exposure. So I've harvested a little bit, but the leaves are quite small that I have harvested. These two are filled with lettuce, various varieties of lettuce. Some are doing better than others. I will obviously focus on bringing those in from the seedlings out in the greenhouse that are doing better. This one is doing quite well. This speckled lettuce does okay. The oak leaf lettuce just doesn't do well in here, so I won't be really doing any. This one looks pretty good. And I wanted to talk to you just a second about how I harvest these. So I have these little pruning shears. The way that you harvest lettuce is you leave the outside leaves so that they can continue with photosynthesis food for the plant. And when you cut just above the growth area. So I'm going to just cut right here. And then I've left this little stub, which includes the growth area, about a ½ an inch of the growth area right here. And this will put out more leaves and more leaves. Now, I should have done that way down here, but I didn't. I let it grow. I was letting it to see how it was going to do. So if I was going to cut this one, I would cut right here. I'm going to let these get a little bit larger. And then over here, these I've let go way too long. I can cut these right here, still above the growth area, and we can see what will happen. these aren't producing much for me yet, but look at this one. I'm going to be replacing it. And then this one is doing really well. I cut some leaves the other day and they were delicious. So this is the growth that has happened since I cut those before. Then over here in this little wastebasket, I have broccoli rapini, broccoli rabe, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I planted those out in the greenhouse over a week ago. And so they're coming up. It's quite a large plant. I don't know if I'm going to be able to manage it for its whole lifetime. I might have to transplant it outside. The lettuce has been here for 3 weeks. And about 5 days ago, I transplanted some outside into one of our Vigo gardens. So we're going to take a quick little field trip and go check on the lettuce in the other 2 places so that we can compare. They all were started at the very same time. Then under this blackout tray, I have 2 trays of microgreens. When we come back from our little field trip, we're going to talk more about microgreens and my experimentation. So we will now go out and check on our other lettuce. I'm going to change into my gardening shoes, and I'll meet you out at the Vigo garden where the lettuce is. Okay, so here we are. These have been out here. I transplanted these 5 days ago. They've been now through 5 nights outside, and it's a little cool and windy this morning, but they seem to be doing really, really well. These were all started in the greenhouse at the same time, and you can see once again that some varieties are doing well out here, better than others out here. So this is a little butter right here. And then the speckled, and here's some oak leaf that's doing really well. I'm thinking that the Simpson black seed does very well. So let's go to the greenhouse and see how our greenhouse lettuce is doing. Okay, so here we are. These are the seedlings, and you will notice that there are lots of roots hanging down on these. So I need to do something with these. I'll probably be putting them outside. But once again, all of these seedlings are the same age. So these are staying small because they don't have enough room for those roots to spread out and they can take off and grow. And by the way, I do have some tomatoes that are finally coming up here. It's taken 3 weeks, but that's for another video. So let's go over and check our transplanted lettuce over here. So these, look at these. I was out here early this morning and watered these. I water them every day. This oak leaf is doing fantastic. This is all the butter lettuce. It's doing okay. This tub is doing fantastic as well. All of these are just doing great. There's a broken leaf there. So this is the lettuce in the greenhouse. As many of you know who have followed us since we have been going, I have done 2 or 3 videos on microgreens. I have, about 6 or 7 years ago, Jim and one of my sons and I decided that we were going to sell microgreens commercially. And we bought a lot of stuff. And so we started off that way. I bought a lot of seed. That seed was, I used it for a long time and then it was ruined in our flood this past summer. So I'm having to start all over again with seed. But we were never all that satisfied and we couldn't get a license here where we live to do it. So we abandoned that, but I wanted to do it anyway just for us. And I have tried a number of different ways to grow it in the house successfully. But what I really have wanted to do is find something that is as sustainable as possible, as easy as possible, and will also fit with the scheduling that we want. We bought great big flats, the full-size flats. I bought even some that had 10 rows, planting rows as soil savings. And that we could grow them in there, but it was difficult to harvest when we're just if the rows were planted in different seed because they would ripen at different times. Anyway, what I found was most convenient for us is growing them in smaller containers because we can harvest an entire container and then we can eat those before another container is ready. And so we can time it so that there's no waste. Then what I wanted to find, now this would hold about 1.5 inches, close to 2 inches of soil. And every time we would grow, then we would have to dump out that soil. We put it in a compost pile and recycle it so it's not lost. But it's a lot of soil. So, I don't know, a couple of months ago on the internet, I saw someone doing some things with microgreens that gave me an idea, and I kind of improved on that idea. And this is what I have come up with, and I'm very excited to try this out. I'm experimenting with stuff all the time, so this is still in the experimental stage. Now, what I have planted here are peas, and I've just covered the peas with a little bit of soil. And then right here I've planted beets, and with the beets I didn't put any cover on the top. The soil is very wet. It's kept wet. I don't have to continue watering it because I have it on a wick system. And I'm going to show you how I do that. It's just paper towels. First of all, finding the right container was a challenge for us. It may not be for everyone, but it was for us. We don't eat a lot of fast food takeaway or takeout, and I do know that a lot of fast food takeouts have containers such as this with a lid that is deep. Here is a very similar container, but look at this lid. It's not deep. It won't hold any soil. This would hold soil. I've grown microwaves in microwaves. Oh, I've grown microwaves. I've grown chunky.
Yeah, I guess plasticky.
I've grown microgreens in these dishes successfully, but if I'm only wanting to grow them in the lid, this would not work. So if you're wanting to try this, look through whatever you've saved and have on hand for a lid that is at least 1/2 inch deep. I bought 25 of these. They're in our Amazon store if you want to take a look at those. But basically I have to figure out a way so that I can thread the towel up and then across and then back down. And so this is what I have come up with. This is a soldering iron that is not plugged in. This is a little soldering iron. And if you're going to be using a soldering iron, please be very careful. They are very easy to burn yourself on. So I'm going to take the plastic lid, and there's this nice line right there. So I'm just going to, from the inside, puncture and then melt across that line. It works so slick. And I have that nice little hole. Then I'm going to flip it the other way, do the same thing on the other end. There we have it. All right, so I have my lid ready. Next is to get the paper towels ready. Now I'm using the type of paper towels that you can do in narrower strips. And I'm going to fold this over about halfway, and then I'm folding this one over about halfway. And then I'm going to put them so that we now have 3 layers. 1, 2, 3 layers of paper towel. And the soil is going to go in here, so I'm going to put this down on the bottom, and I'm going to feed one edge through this little slit. Trying to make it sort of even on both sides. And then I'm going to feed the other end through this end of the slit. And then I'm going to pull it taut, try to sort of equalize it. And so I have now a little moisture mat right here that's going to keep the soil moist. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to put water here. And Jim is going to come close and show you how quickly this moisture wicks up and across the paper towel. Done. And so we have all the moisture that we need. All right, now the next thing I'm going to do is just cover this with soil, and this is pre-moistened soil. I had this out in the greenhouse. Now the next thing that I'm going to bring in is some amaranth seed. This is the amaranth that we grew out in the greenhouse last year. And so I am now going to use it for microgreens. And granted, it is seed, a little bit of the flower, a little bit of the stem, so it's not just pure seed, but it will grow. The only thing that's going to grow is the seed. So it works perfect for microgreens. And it's so good in a microgreen mixture. It comes up red. And then I'm just going to press the seed into the soil. And that's all there is to it. I now have another microgreen pot ready to go. And since I planted these early this morning, and this one right now, and so they're all planted at about the same time, but they're not going to germinate at the same time. Now the first thing that we need to do is put them back over on our countertop over there, and then cover them with that blackout. It's just an inverted tray, but I'm going to black out the sun for about 3 days or 4 days so that they think that they're under soil, and then they should sprout. And then once they sprout, we'll take that blackout off of them and then grow them until they are ready to harvest. And we'll show you when that, we'll come back with another video and give you an update on how those are going. So let's just do that. Black out the light. And that is a quick look at our indoor kitchen garden and where we're going. Again, it is in flux all the time. I'm experimenting with different things, but from time to time, we'll come back and give you an update on how things are going. I want to be successful in growing enough greens that would keep us in the greens that we would need without adding any grow lights or anything else. Now, I do fertilize the lettuce and the other plants over there. This label is in bad shape, but what I use is called Neptune's Harvest, and it is for tomatoes and veggies. And it's not cheap, but it's wonderful. It's organic, and it is marine, of course. And it does a great job. I fertilize every other Wednesday, so every 2 weeks. So that's the scoop. Hope you found this useful, and we will see you soon on another video.